Welcome to Cooking Up Fresh, recipes and tips for gastric cancer wellness. A live cooking demonstration brought to you by Debbie's Dream Foundation in proud partnership with HelloFresh. We're also honored to have the support of our sponsors, Platinum sponsor Estella's, Daiichi Sankyo, and friend of Debbie sponsor Merck. Stay tuned for our next cooking demo in November. This series is dedicated to addressing the nutritional needs of stomach cancer patients and their caregivers by providing actionable information and expert access. We focus on answering critical questions about maintaining proper nutrition during and after gastrectomy, empowering you and your support network. In today's demo, our featured HelloFresh meal has been thoughtfully chosen by nutritionist Mary Eve Brown, an expert in stomach cancer nutrition. Chef Zach Eidelman will be preparing an entree from the meal kit, while a stomach cancer patient volunteer will join to help cook and discuss dietary limitations and modifications following a stomach cancer diagnosis. During this live event, you can ask questions about the featured meal and share your own experiences with nutrition after chemo or surgery. As Chef Zach explains meal preparation, Mary Eve and our patient volunteer will cover the ingredients and their benefits for stomach cancer patients. While the featured HelloFresh dish is designed with nutritional needs in mind, we recognize that every patient's dietary needs differ. That's why we'll discuss substitutions and alternatives during the demo. All registrants who sign up by the deadline will receive the featured HelloFresh dish free of charge, delivered right to your door so you can cook along with us. Don't miss this inspiring, interactive culinary experience. Register now for Cooking Up Fresh, recipes and tips for gastric cancer wellness, and take a step toward nutritional empowerment on your wellness journey.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our third installment of Cooking Up Fresh, meals for gastric cancer patients and others included. And we're really excited to bring you our recipes today, brought to you by HelloFresh, as well as a nice refreshing recipe of my own. My name is Chef Zach Eidelman. I am a certified culinarian in the Baltimore area, active working chef, and I'm happy to be here once again with Mary Eve, and for the first time with our new guests. So if you want to introduce yourselves,
Great.
go right
Hey,
ahead.
I'm Mary Eve. I'm a registered licensed dietitian nutritionist. I'm also board certified in oncology. I'm here today to answer any questions that you have, and I'll turn it over to our Greek guest today.
I am Raquel Lopez Milano. I'm a caregiver and an advocate, and this is my husband.
Hey, Vincent Milano. I'm here to help.
Awesome, and we'll definitely have you both helping, answering questions, and by all means asking questions of your own for us. Absolutely. So as I said, we're going to be doing 2 entrees from HelloFresh, who's graciously given us those to kick off, and I'll get to those in just a moment. We will be going in order of things that take the longest. So I'll start with the starches for both the entrees. We're going to have a rice and a pasta, for example. After that, we'll get into the proteins, we'll get into the remainders of the dishes. We'll essentially be prepping them simultaneously, and we'll finish off with the smoothie. So to begin with, as I said, we're going to go to the starches. So I have my rice and my pasta back here on the stove. We do already have our pasta water boiling because it's a great deal of water and that takes a long time to boil. So we'll just get it back up to heat. We're going to, here in the middle pan, have our rice cooking, and we'll get that set up. Very straightforward. We have our rice already washed. Some people say you don't have to wash your rice.
Soak it overnight, people.
That's also a great option, and I was going to say,
Yeah.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Well,
but I will recommend washing the rice because it does remove a bit of the starch and allows you to keep it from getting too sticky. Unless, of course, that's what you're after in the case of
that's
sticky
true.
rice, in which case,
That's true.
minimize the
But when you
washing.
soak it, you remove all the arsenic out of it. So you really want to soak it overnight, rinse it till it's clear. Vince.
You got that?
He got it.
Now, HelloFresh has given you an instruction as far as how much water to put in here, and they've based that on the measurement of the rice, but I will just quickly say, don't be too intimidated when it comes to instructions, especially with respect to, say, cooking a starch off, making a vinaigrette. The key is just a large enough ratio. So in this case, 2 to 1, 2 parts water to 1 part rice. If you look in the pot itself, I'm just going to take my index or middle finger. We're going to lead it down into touch the bottom of the pot. The water should come up about 1 section of your knuckle above the rice. And so that's what we have here. And we're going to go ahead and bring that over and get that boiling.
I think a lot of people are intimidated about cooking rice. It's not done enough, it's overdone. And I think Zach made a really good point, is that you can have more water even than that and cook it like a pasta and then drain it off.
Yep.
The other thing about rice with gastric cancer, it's the easiest food on the planet to digest. And we've talked before with Zach about, we could cook it in a bone broth, and then the rice sucks up all that great protein from the bone broth and also provides flavor at the same time. Because a lot of times when we're going through treatment, the flavor things are off. So think of rice as easy to digest, but maybe add some bone broth to it to increase the nutrition of it.
Here's a stupid question. Bone broth, beef broth, chicken broth, is that bone is specific?
So yeah, great question actually. And for the record, no such thing as a stupid question. So essentially, any bone will do. The most sort of common is, yes, beef bones. But chicken bone broth is another option, absolutely. It's the bones themselves of any animal that have those nutrients within them. And so it's just about getting them out through the steeping process, through the simmering process.
So regular broth has no nutritional value.
Correct.
But when
or very limited at the very least, yeah.
When the bones are simmered over a very long period of time, you get the protein out of it, out of the marrow. And so then that becomes 7 to 10 grams of protein per cup, whereas regular broth has none. So if you have somebody who's had a really hard time getting the protein in, using a bone broth in a cooking method is a great way to do that.
Cool.
So we've got our starches going. We've got our pasta in the water. Our rice and water, is starting to get hot. Shouldn't take too long at all, and it'll continue to cook while we're working on the rest of the recipes. So we're going to get our chicken cooked off as well. Before we do that, we're actually going to start our pickles for our bulgogi. And the reason I'm going to do that first is because we're doing a quick pickling. So essentially not an overnight or even a weeks or months long pickle like you might be used to at the store, a Vlasic, so to speak. We're doing just a quick pickle. So we're going to use the same kinds of ingredients, a vinegar, a bit of salt, a bit of sugar, to bring out the same flavors, but it'll be a little bit milder than a traditional pickle because, quite simply, it hasn't had as much time. So that being the case, we're going to cut our cucumber into rounds. Now, I'll just give, like I do every show, a quick knife demo. If you want to join me, you're welcome to. Don't be intimidated. I did set up a cutting board for you all if you want to give it a shot, but I'll just show the first couple slices. But yes, first we're going to start with how to hold the knife properly, just to be safe. You always want to hold it by the bolster, not by the handle, because if by the handle it can move around, you want to really place your thumb and your forefinger right here, give it a pinch, and that's where all your motion is coming from. All right, so we're going to go. We've already washed all of our veggies, and just for the sake of time, we're going to take off the very tip, and then we're going to cut them in thin rounds. So you're going to use your other hand like a claw, and you're going to cut down using, again, as a guide almost. You're never going to cut your finger if it's positioned this way because there's nothing sticking out, right? So I know sometimes people, they hold it like that, and then they say, where did the tip of my finger go? So we're going to use more of a flat surface. We're going to continue to cut. I'll ask you now, did you want to give it a shot?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we're just doing these thin rounds like that.
I want to welcome people from Washington, Kansas, Texas, Ohio, go Buckeyes, California, Canada, specifically Montreal, Texas, and of course Maryland. And we have a patient question. So what are some good starch alternatives? Starch have been difficult for me after my gastrectomy. So after gastrectomy, you always want to eat your protein first because you need that nutrition foremost. I think of rice that we just talked about. I think of potato, like white potato, skinned. I think of pasta. That's easy to digest. Those are the things I think of most. So bread is very difficult. Most people can't do breads. And then definitely doing things that don't have the fiber in them. The white potato is going to be better than a sweet potato. White rice is going to be better than brown rice, particularly after gastrectomy.
Awesome. So what we're doing here, yep, you can definitely use the knife as a bit of a shovel. Just be careful. I would actually recommend for those at home too, when you're pushing anything off a knife, try to push out away from as opposed to what you were just doing. No judgment, just a safety recommendation, pushing this way because you chance glancing along the knife. If you couldn't tell, I care very deeply, as I've had a few injuries myself, and so it's always important. You could be in the middle of making a nutritious meal, and then you'll have to stop to bandage yourself, and well, nothing is quite as bad as bandaging on an empty stomach. So we have our cucumbers cut into nice coins. And we're going to take this off the heat.
There's a question about what type of rice is best. So the question was black, purple, basmati, jasmine. So I think if you're having problems with digestion, basmati and jasmine, easy peasy. It's interesting you have a question about black rice, because I bought black rice the other day, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? It does have different phytonutrients in it than other types of rice. I definitely would say basmati, jasmine, and white would be the easiest ones to do.
Mm-hmm. And like we talked about before, cooking them for a little longer will help soften them up and add to that.
Yeah. So like when you're cooking pasta or you're cooking rice, sometimes in the beginning almost overly cooking them so that they are really soft. It's easier to chew if I'm not wanting to eat much, and then easier for digestion.
Absolutely.
Oh, Los Angeles, hello.
Hello to everyone, all around the world it seems, at least all around the continent. So right here, as instructed by HelloFresh, we're gonna separate out the green and white parts of the scallion. They have different flavor profiles for sure, and of course just different color. Typically the green part is gonna be used more like a garnish. You don't wanna cook the green out of it, so to speak. The white, it acts more like an onion, and it's just gonna give you that aromatic flavor. So we have here these two bowls. We're gonna separate them out. Now we do call for the same separation in both recipes, and so essentially what I'm gonna do is do this function, excuse me, in bulk. So I'll have all of the whites, all of the greens, and then that way we can just take half of each bowl and we'll be all set.
So there's a question about taste. And so, Raquel, did your mom have difficulty with taste changes at all?
Yes. So after her surgery, she had lost a lot of her taste, but she always wanted salt. She said everything tasted metal and bland, metally. And I don't know if that was because of the surgery or if that was the chemo or the radiation or everything, but she always wanted to add salt.
Okay.
So
What did you do?
we kind of gave her some salt, but but I wasn't sure like what other foods we can give her that increased taste.
That's a great question. So that was the question that came in. Like, Zach, do you have ideas about taste changes if things are bland or metallic?
So stronger flavors, but ones, and I don't know how else to put this, that don't taste anything like metal. And I know that seems a little strange, but basically, if metallic is akin, let's say, in some people's palates to something like a meatier flavor, you want to move towards something lighter, something brighter, something that has very little to do with that taste in your head. Outside of that, I mean, just in terms of concrete examples, definitely citrus is a good seasoning agent. So orange, lemon, lime, grapefruit, and keep in mind also that each of those has its own unique seasoning power. So whereas perhaps, just as an example, an orange might be a little more metallic, the lemon might not. And so you play around. And as I've said in these events before, it really is your mileage may vary. What works for you, and you should look into that as much as possible. Which isn't to say you should shun everything else. It's good to try stuff, it's good to experiment. But again, what works for you is what's best.
Yeah, so taste is so fascinating. A taste bud picks up a sensation. Sour, salt, bitter, and sweet. And there are different parts of our tongue. And a lot of the chemotherapies we use can be in a platinum, so you get a metally kind of taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
What can help with metal is using things that aren't in metal, not using canned things. Not drinking out of anything that's metal. It's so funny. So many times, this wasn't a thing when I first started practicing, that we drink out of metal containers now. And they're not even thinking about, I'm putting metal on top of metal.
Right.
The other is using plastic forks and spoons. So you're not putting metal on top of metal. The other thing is and Zach can probably speak to this, but the temperature of food also affects taste. So things
absolutely.
Things that are cold to room temperature don't have the same taste to it than things that are hot. So if you're having problems with things that are bland, maybe not doing things that are more cold, but doing things that are more warm, savory can sometimes help.
Absolutely.
The other thing I like is, and you said it, what's the opposite of something? So if something is too sweet, I'm going to add an acid to it.
Right.
If it's too salty, I'm going to add a sweet to it. So you kind of, it's thinking of food in a chemistry kind of way. It's just a different way to do it. But taste changes are like super duper, like 90% of the time common with this treatment.
So we're going to get these pickles going. We have a seasoned rice wine vinegar as part of the package. And again, we're just letting the vinegar and also the fermented sriracha do their thing. It's almost its own kind of cooking. It's going to denature the vegetable a little bit. Just a pinch of salt. Got the vinegar. We're going to take about half of these scallion greens, the green part only. The rest we'll save for the other recipe. And sometimes I have a hard time with packages, and so what we do in the chef world is just cut the tip off. I'm going to add that sriracha in there.
Can you use pesto for anything?
Say it again?
Pesto? Can you use that for anything or no?
When you say use it for anything?
Into rice or on the chicken or anything?
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, and what's fun about pesto is there's no rule about which green you're using. It's just a dark leafy. So some people go for basil, of course, but you could use arugula, you could use...
Spinach?
Yep, spinach, exactly, for a much milder profile. It's really just about the color at the end of the day and the balance between the fattiness of either the pine nuts or pistachios or walnuts and the leafy green, and of course the creaminess of the Parmesan.
So Zach, every time I make pesto, it's bitter. What am I doing wrong?
So a big part of that is there is a certain bitterness to basil that doesn't really come out when you're not thinking about it, but if you eat just a simple basil leaf, you'll notice on the back end there's just that bit of a sour, acrid kind of taste. And so basically, helping it out with a little bit of something sweet, so for example, the sweetness of another vegetable could work too. I have a chef buddy who does a pesto, but they also put red peppers in. So that it adds
that's a great idea.
And it just adds this whole other dimension that I would never think
That's
of,
a great
but
idea.
for them it works and it helps balance that bitterness out. Some actually find it's a little too sweet and they go with arugula, which is even more bitter. So it really, again, is just based on your preference. So yeah, we're already finished with the pickling process, or I should say the pickling step, and so now we're just going to let it sit. We have it at the bottom of the bowl here. I'm going to sort of spread it along the bottom to make sure the liquid touches all the cucumbers. We have the aromatic of the green scallions. We're going to just set that aside. And actually, in the spirit of not having any metallic taste, I'll keep the spoon out. It is in a metal bowl, mind you. And that is also something in terms of metallic taste. You can switch to glass bowls. You can switch to different prepping apparatuses.
Perfect.
I know, for example, a lot of people recommend against with cast iron using anything too acidic, like tomatoes, because it'll kind of ruin the pan. So think of your palate the same way and sort of avoid, at all costs, kind of mixing those. So we're going to move right to the chicken now that pickle mix is pickling. And we're going to sear off the chicken. We're going to get it cooked. And from there, we'll move to the beef as well. So we'll kind of get all the proteins going.
What's your oil you're using, Zach?
I want to make sure I didn't make it too hot. So we have actually, this might be perfect. I got the pan heating. I'm using canola oil. Yep. So the benefit to canola is it has a high flash and smoke point. It can take a bit of abuse, and so to speak. So we're going to get that nice and hot. We already do have it pretty much at the point, which is why I pulled it. I don't want it to get smoking, but here we're just going to quickly. Actually, let me continue to keep that off the heat. I can hear the oil talking to me.
I gotta go back to rice. There's more questions about rice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
by all means.
Esther's asking, is brown rice better? So if you have no problems with digestion, yes, you always want to eat a whole grain. So brown rice is going to, or wild rice is going to be superior over a processed white rice. And I talk about white rice just because it's easy to digest, and a lot of times digestion is a problem with chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. But if you don't have any of that going on, brown rice is your friend. And then Hazelyn is asking, can you substitute rice for couscous, quinoa, orzo, or farro?
All of the above, really.
Yes. So,
yeah.
And then I'm going to put these in two categories. So couscous and orzo, very easy to digest. The quinoa and the farro is going to come with more fiber. So again, we go back to, if I'm doing okay, yes, quinoa and farro. If not, the couscous and the orzo. And I would think, so Zach, in the cooking process, is it much, these guys, are they much different than cooking rice?
So quinoa is about the same ratio. I will say orzo in particular, you treat it a bit more like pasta than you do like rice. So again, your mileage may vary. But yeah, in general, when you have a starchy grain, a lentil, a quinoa, a rice, they're all gonna cook pretty much at that 2-to-1 ratio. It's really just about introducing at the right temperature all that water into the starch in question.
Could your mom eat any of those after her surgery?
Yes, I know she ate rice.
Okay.
She's able to eat rice because we always ate rice in our family. So that was always kind of a staple there. Do you wash anything else other than rice? You suggest? Like
So soaking, I
couscous
think,
or whatever?
is for some of them. Like for quinoa, I know some people prefer to soak it first, but no, not necessarily.
Okay,
Rice is
just
kind of
rice.
the big one.
It's the arsenic that the patties are exposed to. So arsenic is a natural element, and because they're grown in water, the rice up soaks it. So when you soak it overnight and then rinse it, you're getting rid of all that arsenic that's in it. Yeah. It's a whole other level because then you have to think about, when am I having rice and when am I going
Right.
to soak it, right? So, yeah.
All right, so we've got our chicken on and searing. You can hear those beautiful bubbles of the oil, and really all that is the water on the surface of the chicken cooking off. So that's the sound you want to hear. If you don't hear bubbles, it's not hot enough. But again, as Mary Eve and I mentioned, you don't want it too hot where it's smoking. You'll also see that kind of takes away from the surface of the chicken. You get almost like a burnt taste, a burnt look. All right, so our rice is actually almost ready. Our pasta is about there too. The chicken is cooking. Now, I don't know if anyone's heard of different tests. Some people say to throw the pasta against the wall, see if it sticks.
Don't do that.
No. Don't worry. There's only one test. There's only one test that works, and it's tasting it.
Okay. Okay, Vince, I have a question for you because I think, were you the primary cook for your mom-in-law?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a question. They're so happy to see caregivers on the demo today, number one. So thank you so much for being here. How did you guys manage mealtime around your mom and your mom-in-law during treatment? Did you do anything?
So let me just start this one off. She would eat like every 2 hours.
Yeah,
she was
good.
super full, like
Yep.
fast.
Yep.
So there was really no like time that we had dinner time anymore. It was just more like whenever she felt hungry, we would, give her food. I know like Vince made food and he would freeze it, and so.
Would you freeze it like in smaller?
Smaller portions, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That way you can just pull it out. Mom wants, whoop, let's give it to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she would give me a grocery list of stuff that she wanted us to buy, and so we would buy it. So her freezer was full.
Yeah, I mean, we make, like tortilla soup, lasagna, like you said, small little containers.
Yep.
And that way,
Yep.
if they didn't want to eat it all, they can
Yep.
get rid of it. But
My dad was there too, so he would eat a much more bigger meal. So it was kind of
And did you guys try to eat with her or no?
No, we never really ate like as a family unit.
Okay.
It was everyone was just eating
Okay.
whenever.
Okay.
she was kind of off healing.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was another question that came through.
I have a question on the chicken. Is there a benefit to pounding the chicken to make it easier to digest, or is that nothing related to that?
Not completely unrelated. It will definitely help it cook more evenly. And in a way, it'll be smaller pieces, but just pretty much only in that way, as far as easier to digest. It'll be even pieces, you can portion it more accurately, but other than that, no. It's pretty much just a texture thing. Or for example, if you're doing something a little more fun, like some people make roulade, they take the chicken, they pound it out, and they'll wrap it around some spinach and cheese, that sort of thing. But no, really just for a practical purpose.
Okay.
Yeah,
About how much time on each side?
Yeah, so about 3 minutes on each side. And actually, I'll show the camera here. We're beginning to get a bit of a sear. So we're going to leave that a little longer now. There's almost a superstition. You should never pull it until you know in your heart it's ready. But just for education purposes, I've pulled it just so. So we're going to let it get a little browner. 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Never be afraid to temp. I recommend having a thermometer 100%, especially when it comes to foodborne illnesses. With chicken in particular, so you want to look for that temperature of 165 is the temperature that you want for fully cooked chicken. Me personally, since I've cooked it so much, I kind of just give it a quick touch test. But if you do want to give the touch test, it is essentially completely firm to the touch. That's what you're looking for. So also, if you look at the chicken, you'll see the white starts to climb up the side as it cooks. So I'm gonna wait until that white is almost all the way through. That way I know that the cooking status, so to speak, is getting almost there, and I don't have to worry about flipping it, because that starts to take away from the texture, take away from the flavor. So yeah, but we are actually pretty much there. So I'm gonna give them a flip, and you got a nice little bit of brown crust. Oops.
I also like using a thermometer because you want it to be 165 degrees. That's really important, particularly if you're immunosuppressed. 165, you can pretty much guarantee you're not going to have any kind of contaminant.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, outside of that, as far as preference goes, I know some folks like it closer to 175, 180. They like a very firm chicken. There's really no shame in that. In fact, Mary Eve, I don't know if you could speak to how cooking it longer affects the nutrition of it, but I believe it's essentially the same nutrition, whether it's at 165 or...
There's no difference. I think the key, though, is if, and particularly with breast, if it gets a little rubbery, they're chewing, and it's like, I'm out. Because I can only hold so much, and if I'm chewing a whole bunch, you're not going to get as much in. That would be the only thing I would say. The nutritional value
You
is the same.
save some of
there's
that
no
water?
difference.
Yes,
You
and
do?
thank you for reminding me. Yes, I did save some of the pasta water. That'll come
Good
to
call,
bear
Vince.
very shortly. Thank you.
We need that pasta water.
Oh, yes. Yeah, pasta water, for those at home, is a great tool for helping the sauce stick to the pasta itself. There's still quite a bit of starch in the water. And so, yes, I have actually reserved that right over here in our handy coffee mug. So I'm just going to let this finish draining here. So the pasta is done, the rice is done. So we have those starches ready. We have our pickles pickling. We have our chicken just about ready, I would say, probably about 2 more minutes. And so we're actually going to take this off the stove so I can start the beef. So we'll have the beef going here to start. Beef should cook pretty quickly. The overall surface area is all on the pan, as opposed to there's a lot of inside like there is with the chicken breast. So it should cook a little more evenly, a little more quickly. So we'll get that going. Mary, were there any questions on the radar?
There's a good question for Raquel and Vince. What advice would you give new caregivers trying to support both nutrition and emotional well-being in the beginning or along the way?
Right. A little research. Initially, for me, I relied strictly on what the doctors said, and I kind of went with that. Hindsight now, especially with Debbie's Dream Foundation, I mean, there's so many resources out there and nutritionists that you can talk to. You can get, I would say, just do a little research and find out what works best for your person you're making food for, and just kind of make sure that they're getting enough protein and all the essential nutrition that they needed.
Be patient.
And be
That's-
patient.
That's an awesome word. Be patient. Like give the patient grace.
Right,
Because we can't understand what they're going through.
right.
And so,
And it's stressful. I mean, it's really,
well, as caregivers, our love is food,
right,
right? And then the person doesn't really want to eat, and you're like,
right.
but patience is, I think, really key. Really, really, really key. There was another question. Was there a favorite dish or meal that your mom or mom-in-law liked?
I don't know.
I don't think there was a favorite. I think they just appreciated to be able to have that food there if needed or wanted or could keep it down, you know? So, no, not a favorite one, but cook what they like.
At
Cook
least
it the way
try
they
to.
like. Yeah, at least
I know
try
that
to.
she was a cook and she liked her food, and I loved her food. So to try to replicate that was a little hard, but we'll just try to figure out.
That is hard because they don't cook it like I like it. I'm like, you know.
Right.
Well, can you sit with them and show them how to do it? Do you have the energy to do that? I don't know. That could be
Yeah.
maybe a possibility.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Good, yeah. And everybody's journey is different, as we always say, Zach, right? So I have a question about, is there any way to prepare myself for surgery? So when I hear this, so we have this thing called prehabilitation, which is getting ready for surgery. And the better nourished you are going into any kind of surgery, the less complications that you can have, shorter stay, hospital stay, quicker recovery, better wound healing. So you really want to focus on how much nutrition you're getting in and having goals for that. So partnering with an oncology dietitian, super awesome. How much protein you need every day. We've talked about this before, 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. And kilos of body weight, you take your body weight, divide it by half, roughly. And you want to eat protein throughout the day. You want to make sure that your weight is being controlled, that you're not losing weight. So making sure that you're doing high calorie, high protein, being physically active, keeping your muscle mass is really important. So sometimes, even prior to diagnosis, did your mom have any signs and symptoms before diagnosis?
Yes, definitely lost weight, for sure. She lost weight. And just, I think that it was like a lot of misdiagnosis. They were thinking it's
Pretty
something
common,
else,
pretty
right?
common,
Yeah.
pretty common.
And then really it wasn't until the endoscopy is when they figured out what it really was.
Yeah, yeah.
But she was always complaining about pain and then losing weight. And I think my sister is the one that probably said, you should probably, go to the doctors, because if you're not intentionally losing weight, then
There's a problem.
It's something not good.
Right, so I have problems eating, I lose weight, and then I'm getting ready to do either a surgery or chemotherapy, and then a surgery. So all of that compounds your nutrition for where you are.
Yeah.
So I would say focus on your calories, focus on your protein, and being physically active so you're not losing your muscle mass. You want to be strong. What you got going on there, Zach?
So just, checking in. We've got our chicken is done, resting in the oven. We've got the beef going now, and so that's going to be cooked up with our whites of our scallions. And I threw a little green in there too for color. So we're going to be cooking everything but the sauce itself for the bulgogi. That sauce, that signature sauce, a South Korean style, is already done. So we don't need to further cook it, and hence once the beef is ready, nice and thoroughly cooked, we'll mix that in right at the end. So that's what we're working towards. Once we have this beef done, we're pretty much looking at assembly. So of course we have to finish the pasta, but as far as the bulgogi dish goes, we're gonna have our rice, our beef, layered on a bed of lettuce, a wrap of lettuce, and we're good to go. Very simple meal that you can actually have hot or chilled. So if you, again, we talked about temperature of the dish, we talked about different things. You can save it for later, and it's no less delicious. The flavors might be a little different, of course. One thing in the kitchen we talk about is seasoning cold versus seasoning hot. So you want to, if you're going to serve something cold, almost over season just a little bit, so that once it's cold, it still retains that same level of flavor.
Zach, there's a question. If I forgot to save the pasta water, what should I do?
Oh no. Yeah, that's a challenge. So I would start by hanging your head in shame. No, just kidding, just
Make
kidding.
another batch.
Well, actually, if you just take a very small handful of pasta or orzo or something with a lot of starch to it, literally like a small handful, mix it in with some water, get it hot, not even to cook it as much as just to get that starch off of there, good to go.
Awesome.
Yep.
Can you substitute tofu for the meat in this dish?
Absolutely. Now the bulgogi sauce, what's great about it is it's very strong, so it's gonna cover whatever protein you're using. In fact, we could probably switch out ground turkey as well, ground chicken, and you'd be in good form. Of course, the beef is traditional, but yeah, nothing wrong with that.
And tofu uptakes any flavor, and so I think that's a really good match.
Absolutely. In fact, and it's very common in Southeastern Asian cuisine as well.
Starting to smell really good in here.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so we're just breaking apart the beef as well. Now, I brought a tool to share with everyone. Me personally, I do prefer to break apart beef with a spatula, but for those at home, I just wanted to show, I brought this neat tool that my wife at home loves to use when we're making ground beef. Essentially, it's just kind of a masher, but instead of using the flat end of a spatula, you use the even all sides of the beef. Makes it very easy. I myself have learned one way to do it, so old habits die hard. But yes, I would like to make that recommendation for sure. All right, and our beef is actually almost done too. So we're looking good over here.
Zach, there's a question about, can I prep this dish in advance? As a caregiver, I'm struggling so many multiple responsibilities.
Yeah, so this dish in particular, as I mentioned, you could serve cold. You could definitely prep it in advance. As far as the chicken goes, That is quite all right. You could do it cold, but even upon reheating, if you cook the chicken just a little under what you would have cooked it, then when you bring it back to heat, it won't be all dry.
Okay.
For example, in the microwave, in the oven, as it would have been if you cooked it all the way through. Chicken, as opposed to beef can handle a lot of abuse, for lack of a better word, but chicken can be a little more delicate. Even more so, for example, fish. Fish, I would say, is probably one of the hardest to bring back to heat, to kind of act as a leftover. I think most people prefer something like chicken or beef.
And you definitely can, you're doing the pickles ahead, love pickles. You're doing the scallions ahead. So I think you definitely could prep this.
Sorry, say that again?
You could definitely prep this ahead.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And in
HelloFresh,
fact, like I mentioned before, prepping in bulk, one really, I find it fun, but we'll just say one very practical way to do this is you'll take one ingredient and try and split it across many recipes. For example, you get a whole head of lettuce. Well, I don't need a whole head of lettuce for one recipe, but I could make a whole head of lettuce worth of recipes, right?
Yeah.
2 or 3, what have you, a salad, a lettuce wrap, and that sort of thing. That way you're incorporating all of the product, you're prepping for later on. Definitely can help in that process.
Chef move.
Yep, got the flip action going. So we're actually just about done on this beef. I'm gonna bring it down a little so that it just finishes cooking. We're gonna go back to the pan for the sauce for the chicken. And as I said, we got the rice done, so that's perfect. So right here you'll see, for the folks at home as well, we have the bottom of the pan. The French call this the fond. I call it the yummy scrummies. It's just the stuff that's left after you've cooked the meat. This is part of our seasoning. So we're gonna get this pan back to hot, and we're gonna deglaze it a little bit. And you can use chicken stock, you can use water, you can use white wine, you can use any kind of vinegar. The key is just getting a little bit of a push. Now we do have our cream base, as well as a little bit of a reduced caramelized onion base that we were given by HelloFresh. These are gonna add some phenomenal flavor, especially the cooked down onions. This little bit in this ramekin I have in my hands, just has the very bottom of the ramekin, took hours to produce. So just be very grateful that HelloFresh did it on our behalf.
We need to bottle that. I mean,
It's almost like an onion jam.
It's amazing.
Folks at home will see it in your package. It's more or less a ketchup packet's worth of material, but it started as a whole bowl of onions. And it's really a remarkable, from a science perspective, you're just cooking it down, cooking it down, cooking it down until it's this pure, pure umami flavor. And so that's going to go in once we deglaze.
So I have a question from a patient. One doctor told me I can't have beef anymore. Another one told me I can eat with caution. What is wrong with beef for people who have stomach surgery? You can definitely have beef. I think ground beef is easier than like trying to sit down to like a piece of meat, but you can totally have beef. I would do lean as you can. 93% ground, I think, is a good idea. So I don't know what's particular to you, but from my standpoint, you can have beef. Now, beefs are different. So grass-fed, grass-finished beef has more omega-3s in them than commercially farmed. So if that fits into your budget, you can get that. I'm gonna say go for that because that's gonna be more health benefits to it. Definitely lean. Now, there are recommendations for how much red meat people should have in survivorship. It's 18 ounces of cooked red meat per month. And so if you're in survivorship, you're doing great, you can have, red meat, just the type of red meat I think is important. Or if you don't want to have it, that's okay too. But there's nothing that you can't have, I think, is more the important. But then again, not all surgeries are the same. Like you had mentioned, your mom was going to go in for a total, but but what happened?
So once they went in, they realized that they didn't need to take out the total, so they took out part of it. So we're all kind of relieved, because we're already planning on getting liquid diet. So, we didn't know that you could live without a stomach, right?
Yeah.
So when they came back out, we're like, oof, okay, so she can eat some food. But yeah, so anyway, so she was able to continue eating.
Yeah, so I find gastric surgeries are really fascinating because they're artists when they get in there. They think they know what they're getting into, but they don't know until they get in there and really kind of figure it out. So I have some people who still have a pylorus. I have some people who don't have a pylorus, which is the end of the stomach to the small bowel. The esophageal sphincter can sometimes go. And the only reason I'm saying this is because I gave a broad answer to this question, but it might be specific to whatever your surgery was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like an individual approach is always warranted in these cases. So just a quick check-in on the food side. The beef is just about done. We've coated it in the Bulgogi sauce and
About
garnished
15 minutes, Zach.
with sesame seeds. I got you. So we are actually moving right along. We've deglazed the pan with just a little of the pasta water that I saved, so it's already got some of that starchiness.
Can you use a crock pot for any of this stuff?
So a crock pot, yes, but it's not really what it's meant for. It's meant more for stews and longer term. This is more of a à la minute is what they call it in French, this sort of in-the-moment production. So we're gonna just get things going here on the
Did you use a crock pot a
sauce.
lot with your mom and all?
Oh,
No,
sorry.
I cooked everything fresh.
Good,
Yeah.
so good.
Well, we had a crock pot.
Yeah, we did, but I
Yeah,
never used it.
yeah, right,
We made
right.
stew. You would make stew.
Still, yeah.
So we're gonna assemble this sauce very quickly. Cream, that onion base, that delicious onion base we talked about. We have these peas. We're gonna mix those all together and then mix in the pasta itself. And we should be just about ready. Give it just a couple of minutes to thicken up. And while that's doing its thing,
Yeah, so the other thing we talked about, like so peas are high fiber, so if you can't digest them, you can leave it out. Like the HelloFresh, you can, customize it. If you
Absolutely.
can't digest the green part of the onion, you can leave it off. The jam should be fine. The onion jam should be fine. The beef should be fine. The chicken should be fine. The pasta should be fine. And the
and
rice.
if you're looking for something green but with less of a sort of dietary issue, you could just go for simply some parsley, just something
yep.
with a bright pop. That'll help, I think, even just from a psychosomatic level of I have a green pop in my pasta.
Aesthetically pleasing.
Aesthetically pleasing, 'cause
That is a big part.
That
I
is.
think people write that off too quickly. They say, it's just fuel, but actually I think that's a big part of nourishing ourselves is enjoying it as well.
And if it looks pretty,
Right.
Yeah.
which
Don't
Zach
forget.
is always, he is amazing at making things look pretty. He does pretty plates, he does pretty cups, and the food looks pretty. I'm gonna wanna eat that,
Oh,
right?
yes. Don't worry, we will all get a chance, and I'm very much looking forward. That is about ready. That is about ready. We are just about there, folks. We're going to make this smoothie as well. I'm going to turn this down a little bit, but we are going to make our smoothie as well, and it looks like we'll have everything coming up together. So I'm going to get these off the heat, and we will assemble our bulgogi in a moment. So we have our rice, our beef mixture, our pickles, good to go. And we're going to do a smoothie for dessert, or just as a nice afternoon snack. So we have here Greek yogurt, we have frozen mangoes. I did look for fresh, I found one single one, so I figured I'd get a little frozen too, just to
Oh,
flesh
nice,
things out.
yeah.
And we're also gonna put a little turmeric in the smoothie as well. That, as Mary Eve can speak to, has some anti-inflammatory properties, which are very good. We'll also have some fresh ginger in there. You can buy it minced. I've bought just fresh ginger, sliced it up, it's going in the blender, so don't have to dice it too much further. And yeah, simple as that. We're gonna assemble these all in the blender, pulverize them, put them in a cup.
And ginger also comes with a digestive aid. It's an anti-nauseant.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's a great addition to a smoothie. And sometimes when people come home from surgery, liquids are kind of their friend. So doing smoothies, I think, is a great idea. What kind of yogurt did you do, Zach?
This is a plain yogurt, so no sugar. And I believe it's a Greek yogurt for sure. I think it is the low-fat variety, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yes.
And so Greek yogurt is just strained regular yogurt, and it has more protein in it. So it's a protein source as well. And I have a lot of questions about people who have lactose intolerances. Did your mom have a lactose problem at all? Did dairy
No.
bother her?
No.
Okay. So sometimes if you have a total gastrectomy, the lactose, which is the milk sugar, can actually cause dumping, which is things fall out of the pouch into the small bowel. Greek yogurt tends to be on the lower lactose end, but there's a lot of dairy-free ones that are on the market now. So totally doing something lactose-free. There's lactose-free Greek yogurt now. And sometimes I'll have people do that as soon as they come home, just to kind of make things a little bit easier, and then eventually see if they can do dairy or not.
All right, speaking of dairy, we're adding our yogurt now. So I actually forgot to mention we have banana in this smoothie as well, which adds a nice texture. Again, something that may or may not work for you.
Super easy to digest.
Oh, perfect,
Bananas,
okay.
Banana. The only, like after gastrectomy, the only two, or I should say three, fresh fruits you can do is banana and melon.
Any kind of melon?
Any kind of melon. And so watermelon has a lot of electrolyte properties similar to like an oral rehydration drink.
And just to jump in here, speaking of electrolytes, I'm actually adding a little bit of coconut water too
yeah.
to help the blending process, but also because of its phenomenal electrolyte content.
You're kind of making a little bit of a pina colada kind of thing.
Yes, but we'll wait till the cameras are off for the rum portion. Just no. So we'll just go ahead and do that. Apologies for the noise here. Just add one final ingredient, and the color is really going to pop here. We have like a pale yellow from the mango and the banana. We're going to add just about a tablespoon or so, maybe 2 teaspoons of turmeric. Has a very earthy flavor, pretty mild overall, powerful but mild, I guess is how I would put it.
It's really great in any kind of savory soup or stew. Like I put it in chili, I put it in butternut squash soup, because it also gives that kind of umami, is what Chef said, gives that savory, nice flavor.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking for like calories, you wouldn't use like a low-fat yogurt. You would use a full yogurt.
That's a great question. Yes,
Yes,
but
great
after
question.
gastrectomy, sometimes fats can be a problem because fats slow down gastric emptying. So if you're having problems with early satiety, like your mom had,
Right.
going lower fat would be probably a better idea. But yes, if you're looking for calories, you want to go full fat. You don't want anything light or low fat. That's a great question.
All right, we're getting down to the wire here, friends. We're going to start plating up. So first I'll get our pasta together. So we have our pasta mixed in with our peas, of course, the cream sauce. I'm going to try to get a nice... I myself have not mastered getting pasta out of the pan. I know some chefs take pride. There's a bit of a twist involved, I've heard, but in my experience, it's just get it out as best you can. Again, I always try to sort of emphasize, don't feel any shame when cooking, don't try and be intimidated. Ultimately, even chefs started somewhere, and at the end of the day, it's just about having some delicious food on your plate.
And again, that's a good portion for most people, but if your stomach is not there or you have partial stomach, maybe a quarter of that is the portion, right? Did you feed her on normal sized plates or did you do smaller plates?
Regular plates.
Regular plates.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to bring up, is sometimes even the size of the plate, a big part of it is the psychological element of satiety.
I don't want to eat.
Yeah, if she saw that now, she'd be like, I don't want it.
Right.
So
Too much.
yeah.
All right, so we'll let these rest for a moment. We got our bed of pasta. While that's resting for a moment, I'm also going to show you how we're starting off the bulgogi wraps. So you can either cut the butt of the lettuce off and have all your leaves available. I like to kind of just piece them apart, so I have them all together still, and I can just take exactly how many I want. So let's do 2
How
per
did
plate.
you wash that?
Dunked it in water, shook it out.
Dunked it, okay.
Yep, just dunked it. There are some chefs who would say go even further, cut the butt, make sure you get a lot of that dirt. Okay. For personal purposes, this is what I've done is fine, although I would recommend making sure that at a commercial level, certainly, those aspiring chefs are washing lettuce thoroughly. It is a surprising source of a lot of foodborne illness. You would think such a humble ingredient, but E. coli. But E. coli runs rampant, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I did forget one thing for the sauce, and I'll just tell you all in pure transparency, I was gonna add a splash of lemon to our sauce. That's all that's missing. And I do have this nice handy lemon squeezer. So for those of you at home, that would be the one thing to add in. Also, I did not include, but I have on my mise en place right here, some honey. If you'd like to add it to your smoothie, absolutely. If it's something, if the glycemic index is a challenge for you, definitely fine to omit. So we're gonna have these. I'm gonna take my spoon here. We're gonna take a bit of rice. And really just finding the curve. So if they set over, that's okay. Just a nice, healthy spoonful.
And again, if your digestion is not there for the lettuce, you could do the rice and the beef,
Yep,
right?
absolutely. Skip the lettuce, no problem at all. So we'll have these going. And again, nothing exact. This is just about, as Mary said, what seems eatable, what seems conquerable in terms of the portion.
Where you are, yeah.
So we'll hit it with that. We'll hit a little bit of beef on top. And when you go to eat these, it's very simple. You take them, pick them up, kind of bend them together like a slice of New York pizza. I've already put in some sesame seeds, but just for the look, I'm also going to drizzle a few on top. And here they are. You can also add a little more green onion if you'd like. The sky's the limit. A few chili flakes if you'd prefer, if you want a little spicier. Got those there. And now that the chicken's a little rested, we're gonna give it a slice on a bias. Bias just means on a little bit of a diagonal as opposed to straight down.
And I think that's really important that you just said to let it to rest, because if you take it off and you cut it, all the goodness rolls out of it.
All the moisture's gone, and then people wonder, why is my chicken so dry? Well, all that steam you saw magnificently coming out when you cut it, that's where it went. So yeah, just cutting it on a bias, and there's no practical reason to cut it on a bias as opposed to straight down, except look, it looks like a picture, it looks like a movie. So we'll put it
Visually
right on top.
appealing.
Visually appealing, and that really is, I believe, an important aspect of this. Not to mention slicing it is a great way to check if it's done. Just full stop. And so happily enough, you'll see we have a nice white center, and so we're good to go. I also, just for what it's worth, like to slice in odd numbers. I think it looks better on the plate when it's odd instead of even. Just a little tip for those at home. So we've got our 2 entrees set. And last thing we're gonna do.
Where do the pickles go?
Oh, excuse me. Thank you.
I love a pickle. I pickle everything.
No, yes, and these are delicious. So those are gonna go right on top. I thought it was missing something.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we're gonna put those
You
right
did
on
such a
top.
good job, Zach. Really.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And so yeah, these are a little spicy because I did use the whole sriracha pack. Again, something you can omit by any means, or by all means, excuse me. All right, so we've got our entrees done. I found these adorable glasses. They have a bit of a yellow tint, so that's gonna help with our yellow smoothie.
Oh, perfect consistency.
Yeah, oh. Make sure I don't over pour. And yeah, so I know some folks will use ice, some will use water. I think coconut water is a nice way to, again, get that blade whirring, but also maximize the nutrition. Just grab a couple of these straws, tuck them in there. And folks, we are all set. We have our 2 entrees, our delicious smoothie. Really had a great time walking you all through this. It was so wonderful having you all here too.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you guys.
Well, that about wraps it up, folks. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We have our next show in November, November 18th, I believe, so please look out for that. There is also another webinar through the Debbie's Dream Foundation tonight to check that out on surgery, I believe. I don't want to misspeak. But yeah, definitely check that out as well. Again, thanks to HelloFresh, thanks to all our sponsors, to the foundation, and to all of you for joining us. And we'll see you soon.
Bye.